who will win the 2025 Formula 2 Championship. There's 2 race weekends left, Qatar and Saudi Arabia. That means 2 feature races awarding up to 25 points each, 2 sprint races awarding up to 10 points each, 2 opportunities for pole position which award 2 points each, and 4 races with fastest laps awarding 1 point each. That means 78 points are up for grabs. So all the drivers within 78 points of our current championship leader, Fornaroli, are still in contention, technically. But some of these drivers are closer than others. So let's go through each driver and see how likely it is that they could prove a challenge to the Italian Fornaroli. But first, let's go through some of the graphs that I'm going to be referring to kind of evidence my predictions for who will win the championship. First up, there is this box and whisker chart. This shows the distribution of the average point score of the races. So you can see Fornaroli, each of those boxes, or the whiskers, is 25%, so it's a quartile. So the yellow box shows that half of the time he's scoring within that range of 20 to 14 points. But 25% of the time he scores above that range between 20 and 29 points. But also 25% of the time he scores below 14 points, somewhere between 14 and 2. There's a little bit of an outlier there. I can't change that. It's annoying, but oh well. Whereas Crawford, he's got a much bigger range for his middle percentile, but his best weekend is better than Fornaroli's best weekend. But his average is slightly below Fornaroli's, but that's to be expected with the amount of consistency Fornaroli has shown. So yeah, then we have the heat maps. And these heat maps, the kind of red to green ones, they show how many points behind per race each driver is to the other driver. So look, if you look at the middle row, Vershaw going across to Dunn. Vershaw needs to score 10.5 points more each race to make sure, to guarantee that he beats Alex Dunn. That's quite doable. But if you look at Fornaroli down to Dunn, that's 29 points a race. Dunn has to beat Fornaroli by, which isn't very likely in my opinion. Let's just get into it. The first driver that I've picked out is Pepe Marti, but he's technically out already because although he's in contention, he has 76 points away from Fornaroli, and he can score 78. But he's not even racing over these weekends, as he's been replaced by Nicholas Slolov, stepping up from F3 after some good performances down in that category. So he's kind of been excluded from the rest of the graph because he's not technically in it because he's out. Then we have Alex Dunn, who needs 29 points a race over Fornaroli. So Fornaroli has to score below, I think it's 29, below 10 points a race, which, as we can see, he's only done that once all season. So the likelihood of him doing it twice isn't likely at all. And in my opinion, Alex Dunn has a 1% chance of winning the championship. I mean, his box and whisker chart is fine, but he's just too far away, you know. He could score good points. He could score around 29 points, but he's just not going to. I mean, his best race weekend so far this season has been 29 points, but he needs to score above that. You know, he needs to score 29 and then have Fornaroli DNF all through the race weekend. So, in my opinion, it's not going to happen, but it still could happen, which is why it's a 1% chance. Then we have Vershaw, who's 19 points off, and this is much more achievable. The 19% or 19 points is well within Vershaw's kind of box and whisker. But if we look at Fornaroli's average of around 17, 18 points, he needs to be scoring 19 above that, which is more points than you can earn in a race. You know, I think that's what's 18 plus 19. That's 38. So actually, it is technically feasible if he scored all the points in both race weekends, and Fornaroli was his average self. But it's very out there. It's a lot more attainable than Dunn's 1%. So I'm going to give it 4%. But still, wildly inconceivable in my mind that he managed to make up that margin on not just Fornaroli, but also Crawford. He needs Crawford to have a better race weekend. He needs Browning to have a better race weekend. It's just not going to happen. So for sure, in my opinion, you're out. Sorry, buddy. Then we have Browning. And this is 5 points extra per race or less that he needs to score. So we say Fornaroli scores his average of 17, 18 points. Browning needs to score 31 to 32 points a race, or a race weekend. Even then, that's still like so many points, you know? It's so many. And I guess, let's say, in one of the race weekends, Fornaroli DNFs. And Browning gets his average of 15 points. That means the next race weekend, he has to do it again with Fornaroli DNFing and him scoring his average of 15 points. And we've seen so far that Fornaroli has scored points on every single race weekend so far this season. So in my mind, it's not going to happen. So Browning would need to score more than his average and be pushing up into that top quartile of his in order to even prove competition to Fornaroli, and that's with Fornaroli being below his usual par. This is Fornaroli's championship to lose now, you know. He is 19 points over Crawford. He's more consistent than Crawford. So, in my mind, it's going to be very close. But Browning, I'm going to give him a 10% chance. I mean, Fornaroli could get below the expected points. You know, he has scored 2 points in the race weekend. If he did that again twice, then Browning would only need around 25 points to catch up. That's doable. That's a feature race win there. Sorry, 29 points. That's a feature race win and like a P6, P5 in a sprint race, you know. That's doable. So it's definitely an option. It's definitely something that could happen. Like done, it won't happen. 1% chance. I'll take those odds of that not happening. Same with Vashore. 4%. Browning. 10%. Yeah, I think it's definitely on the cards if things go his way. But it also means Crawford would have to under-deliver. But Browning would only have to beat Crawford by 5 points a race. No, not race. A race weekend, you know. And that's not unforeseeable. But the thing is, Crawford has had some great race weekends so far, and is only 9.5 points a race or race weekend off the top step of Fornaroli. So if Crawford does really, really well, and Fornaroli doesn't, there's no one else in this situation, because Browning's behind him, Vashore's behind him, Dunn's behind him. It's just those two up top there, you know. 10 points a race weekend isn't much. That's the difference between P1 and P3 in the feature race. It's on the cards, you know. It's still quite a big margin, given how consistent Fornaroli's been. Let's say both race weekends, he scores his bottom percentile of 14 points. That means Crawford would have to score 25 points at least, which is definitely in his top upper quartile. So basically, Crawford needs to over-deliver a little bit and have Fornaroli under-deliver a little bit to be able to be in chance for winning. So Crawford, in my mind, I'm going to give him 25% chance. 25% chance, given the gap, given how good he can be. And that means Fornaroli has a 60% chance, in my mind, to win the championship. So great odds. It's not done, but it could be finished after this race weekend. If the Fornaroli wipes the board, scores, I think if Crawford doesn't score, Brandon doesn't score much, Shaw doesn't score much, Dunn doesn't score much, and Fornaroli wins both races, it's done. You know, it's over. No more counting. But that's the beauty of motorsport. Fornaroli has never looked close to being that consistently great. He's always been consistently good, but not winning every race, week in, week out. He's always just scored solid points. So yeah, that's my opinion. kind of want Crawford to win. I feel like he's been around longer. I feel like he is in a good spot to go and do that. But I would also love to see him race against the other American, Colton Herta, next season. But it's all up for grabs. Stay tuned to this channel to see qualifying highlights, practice highlights for the Formula 2. So stay tuned for those videos. And let's jump on the bandwagon. Subscribe if you like this video. If you want to join the Formula 2 Legion that we're assembling here on the Harrison Motorsport YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks for watching as always. Peace.